Afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for that very kind introduction, Counselor Tour. One of the best parts of the job is working with counselors and municipal governments across the province. And I'm not saying that just because I'm from Brampton, but I think we have some of the best counselors in the city of Brampton, some of the most forward-thinking, great to work with. We can have our disagreements on certain issues, but we always find a path forward. And I want to thank Gripperdop for all of his work. He's a rookie counselor, but he's done my favorite. He's really done a lot of work. Especially over the last couple of years, moving the city forward. So it's been a pleasure, and thank you to Jay, Paul, VJ, and the entire team here at the Brampton Board of Trade for putting together these great events, which gives us an opportunity to have these really important conversations and to talk about the city of Brampton and what it means for us moving forward. I'm raising my family here. I love this city. Many of you that are here are a part of this city and want to see the best for it and its future. And that's why conversations like today are so important to have that vision, to speak about it, to talk about it, engage in what we can do moving forward. When I got elected, one of the things that we campaigned on, what we saw was kind of the underinvestment in the city. Whether it was transit, whether it was healthcare, whether it was from an economic perspective, infrastructure perspective, that was something that we really set our goal to fixing. And I think with Mayor Brown and his team and this government, we've really made a change on that, and we've launched some really exciting projects. Along that way, there's been many challenges. And we face geopolitical challenges with what's happening south of the border and the impacts that it's going to have right here, in our city, from jobs to many other impacts. But we've got solutions for that, and I think we can come out of that stronger. As the Minister of Transportation, one of my biggest goals is to get people moving. And I truly believe that the best way to move people is to give, or one of the best ways we can do is invest, whether it's in that public infrastructure, public transit, whether it's highways, whether it's roads, whether it's bridges across the province, is to improve the productivity of people and how they get to where they need to go quicker and faster. Especially in our transit projects, one of the best ways to improve quality of life is to get somebody to wherever they need to go in a quicker manner, a more convenient manner, a more affordable manner, so they can spend more time with their family. And that's really what guides our plan and our investment over the next 10 years of $70 billion into public transit and $30+ billion into our road network and infrastructure across the province, is productivity and giving people more options across the province to get to where they need to go to quicker and faster. The impacts of that from an economic perspective sometimes can't be measured in its entirety, but it's significant and it's massive. And that's why we're so excited by our projects, whether it's the LRT project in Brampton, the Ontario line, that's going to move almost 400,000 people in downtown Toronto every single day. These are generational projects that are going to have a huge lasting impact across Ontario. One of my favorite projects is obviously the Hazel McCallion LRT. We've made some really exciting announcements around it. We've got 18 stops. We're expanding it right into downtown Brampton. That's going to be an amazing project, something that I'm really excited about. And you'll continue to hear more progress updates around that. You heard a big cheer from Chris in the back there, who I have to say is one of the best people to work with, and somebody just really bounce great ideas off of someone who really truly cares about public transit and especially building the city. So, Chris, we're really lucky to have you here, and really appreciate it. That's a 4-kilometer expansion, and that expansion wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for again, the city council pushing it, but also the residents around the city, and understanding and appreciating what that connectivity means for the residents of Brampton, the opportunities it brings, and the benefit of it. So it's been incredible. One of the other really amazing projects that I've had the opportunity to work with while my tenure at Minister of Transportation is the One Fare program. And I've heard, so much from students especially of how much they've been able to benefit from it. But once again, it ties into the larger plan of regional connectivity and also just making transit more affordable, more accessible for people. When we did a bit of a one-year recap on that, I think we saved over $145 million for the year on transit riders. We saw growth of over 14 million transfers that we didn't see a year before. And so it told us, people were using, whether it's the TTC or Go Transit, because it was a bit more affordable for them to use it, more convenient, one system, integrated. And so, we really look forward to continuing to see the growth in that program, which we're very confident we're going to continue to see, but also the expansion of that program into other areas of the province, which we will integrate as the time comes up and as others can integrate into the Presto system. So I think that has been something that we've been really proud of, and we can see each and every single day the impacts of it. And on a yearly basis, most people who use transit use it almost every single day or use it at least 5 times a day. And with return to work, you'll see more benefits of the one fare and people, saving over $1,600 a year while using that. I would also say our Go expansion program is something that we're really proud of. We've got some really exciting announcements on the way with respect to that. The Kitchener line has exceeded, I think, everyone's expectations with respect to the ridership return. We marked a pretty big milestone just last week on, I believe it was September 9th, which was our second highest Go day in terms of ridership. Since the Raptors championship parade. So we've been having, it's working and people are using it. And, one of the things when I talk to people on Go is the impact of one fare, but also, we added 300 additional trips on it last year. And we're going to make some, I wish I could announce it here today, but we'll make some really exciting announcements around more Go expansion that will really benefit not only this city, but all Go train riders across the province. So something that we're really, really excited about. And the second phase of that, which is Go 2.0, is how do we get more people across this province connected? How do we build more stations? How do we build an opportunity for more people to use this incredible service? So, on the transit side, a lot of amazing work going on, and we're really, really excited about it. And lastly, I would say one of the biggest projects for this region as well is the Highway 413, something that we've got shovels in the ground on early works, and something that we're going to see have a significant impact from a logistical perspective, but also from an economic perspective. We've seen amazing interest, incredible interest from big employers across the province on having this critical network to get products to market and to get goods to market in a quicker and faster way, and to also support the growth of one of the fastest growing regions, whether it's Peel, York, Halton. These are some of the fastest growing areas in all of Canada. To continue to build that infrastructure is so important. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you to all of you for being here. Looking forward to our conversation with Jay Paul. But most importantly, if there's anyone that at any time wants to engage on transportation policy, I've got my team here as well in the back. We're always happy to engage. We've got Mauro and Dakota from my office, as well as Simon, who's going to be taking all the pictures. So we're always happy to engage, have the conversation, take ideas, but ultimately we want to continue to build this province forward. We want to continue to invest in public transit, and we're really excited about what the next 5 to 10 years holds in that journey of building that transit and highways. So thank you very much for having me, and I really look forward to our conversation. Thank you. Whichever you prefer. Oh yeah, perfect.
Well, thank you, Minister Sarkaria, for joining us today. It's always great to have you here, and your continued engagement with the Board of Trade, the business community, and our so many community stakeholders is always appreciated, and your candor is always appreciated. That's my preface, so that you'll be looser and more talkative today. We appreciate your candor. One of the things I wanted to highlight for you as part of our conversation today is our commitment as a community to these types of conversations, not just through events like this, but as you're aware, the Brampton Board of Trade is releasing today our transportation white paper, which I'd love to give you we'll give you an official copy as well, but an indication of where we as a community stand. It's a document that came together not just from the Board of Trade, but through the engagement of many of the folks here, civic institutions, academic partners, professional, industry partners that are here in the room with us, to really talk about the opportunities that can be unlocked, not just within Brampton through an intermodal strategy, but really unlocking regional opportunity, both economic, but in terms of quality of life, environmental, goods movement, all of it. So I share it with you just to reiterate, this is a room of folks who, many of whom contributed to this document, that are really interested in hearing the conversation today with you.
I'm really looking forward to it. So I haven't had a chance to review this, but I love to look at documents like this and integrate them into our larger and more broader transportation plan. So thank you to everyone that's participated in this. This is how projects are done. Like, if you asked me a couple of years ago, are we going to have the extension into the LRT? It wasn't until we had engagement from so many community members across the province, across the city, that really spearheaded the start of that. So this is really important, Jay Paul. Thank you to you and your team for bringing everybody together and taking this initiative. And we'll definitely share it with our teams and integrate it into not only MTO, but Metrolinx as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And with that now said, there's no conversation about transportation in Brampton that we can't start with LRT. It's and I noticed you even prioritize it over the Ontario line when you mentioned projects of interest. I appreciate that. From our perspective here, as you touched on, there's been a lot of advocacy ongoing by the many stakeholders in the room that have helped move that project alongside your government and other levels of government to where it is right now. We understand, and there's been some big announcements earlier this spring, but we're all always looking for an update. And more importantly, in a room like this, what we're really looking for is to understand how we can help. We've engaged at the Board of Trade with other levels of government, and our understanding, particularly with dealing with those at the federal level, is that the next step is really going to be unlocked by the MTO and Metrolinx, that there's some reports, some costing exercises that need to be done before the federal government can assess what transit funds can be allocated to a project here. I'm wondering if you can just help expand upon that, help us understand where those of us in the community who like to be outspoken advocates can put that energy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, when we launched with Mayor Brown and the team, I think it was in February or January actually, where we made the announcement. That really kickstarted the process of initial design phase of the extension. So our team will take it back, has been taking it back. They've been in consultation with preliminary design on how this expansion will look, what the procurement documents will look like. And so this is very typical of any project that we put forward. And so right now, hopefully in the next couple of months, we can come back with more details around the design and what we want to see as we move forward. And then from that perspective, we'll take it to tender. It was good. I think it was a couple months later that we did receive, verbal commitment from the federal government to join in on the project. Minister Smith was the one who actually made the announcement at City Hall, and I had a chance to join him. And I always tell everybody, it's building transit shouldn't be political. It should be as nonpartisan as you can get. So we were very much appreciative of that commitment from them. And so we'll be continuing to update as that project expands and moves forward, and the designs of it get a bit more finalized. Ultimately, the costing of a project doesn't get released until it's been fully tendered. So from that perspective, what we would be asking the federal government is to come in on a cost-sharing basis like they have on whether it's the Hamilton LRT, the Ontario Line, Scarborough Subway Extension, Finch West LRT. So you likely won't hear a number, just to protect the competitive process of it, but we will be looking for a percentage of that. So that's all going to be coming up very quickly, and gives us more opportunities for more exciting announcements to continue building the progress around those projects.
Much appreciated. And as a business organization, the component about costing there, completely understand. There's a lot of developers and others in the room right now. We all understand in the current tariff environment, costing anything beyond next week is a challenge right now, let alone a generational project that might take several years to unpack. So understand there's some reticence in getting into numbers early, and they'll come later in the process. But you talked a little bit about where we are right now. As the province has a number of projects on the table that you're working through, some of which you've been looking to the federal government, in fact, even to designate as projects of interest and to help accelerate. Help us understand a little bit, if you don't mind, what does the algorithm look like on your end? Is it about people movement? Is it about job creation? Is it about economic activity? What prioritizes a project in your mind for transit?
I think, generally speaking, there's a couple of things that we think about. Obviously, one is ridership. You look at the city of Brampton. I think it's had some of the highest growth and most use than any other system in probably all of Canada, or it'll definitely be top 3 or top 5. So when you look at the needs of where transit investments need to go, I think Brampton is always top of the list there. So obviously that factors into the equation. Secondly, I think when you're talking about transit projects, there's no better way to build out the economy, especially in the current dynamic of what's happening south of the border. For example, the Scarborough subway extension, we made an exciting announcement a couple of weeks ago around that. That's employing 3,000 people. The Ontario line, over 4,000 to 5,000 people employed directly, and then indirectly from that, there's a significant amount of spin-off that happens from construction and transit projects. So we see it as a huge tool from an economic perspective on, in today's world, getting the economy going again. So I look at ways to speed processes up. Instead of getting tied into a lot of the, sometimes the more of the regulatory aspect or the environmental aspect of it is how do we get shovels in the ground quicker and faster when we know from a general perspective that we've done a lot of that work. We've passed legislation in the House to allow us to move quicker and faster on projects, for example, like the Ontario line, Finch, Ontario line, Scarborough, Eglinton West extension, because we've learned from the past what those delays in the time from announcement to shovel in the ground can truly cost. You see huge escalations in price. You see huge, time between design and shovel in ground. So, I look forward to using some of those in getting the project in Brampton up and running quicker and faster. So I think there's a variety of ways for us to examine a project but not only just the benefit of public transit in general, but also from the perspective of how do we build, how do we get people employed faster? How do we get the economy moving faster? And then lastly is obviously the housing component of it. The LRT project, if you can jump on, from the Brampton, go all the way down, or use that kind of a station as a landmark, and truly have access to pretty much every part of the province because you're so connected now with this expansion. This was truly that little last missing link, and obviously for political reasons in the past, it wasn't. That was a whole different story, but now we finally got that kind of missing link in Brampton connected, and you truly have a connected system all across the province that somebody that needs to get up and go. And so I think it makes it that much more attractive for people to want to live here, to raise a family here, knowing that they have that connectivity across the province. So there's a variety of things that go into kind of that equation, and we've really been focusing in on the use of higher density housing around our stations as well, because I think that it just makes sense, and it's worked everywhere else around the world.
No, I appreciate that. And it helps us, again, shape our advocacy and who else we should be working with. And I appreciate your comments around housing. It's among the reasons we had Minister Flack here today, as well as we see housing and transportation, linked in ways that, are very, very deep. And if we were to do, get one more minister here, quite frankly, among your colleagues, I would probably ask for Minister Piccini, because I think that the piece that we're not talking about is the labor piece that goes along with both those conversations around housing and transportation. And so I'd love to hear from your perspective, as we talk about job creation, economic growth that comes about through these types of investments, not just the LRT, but the 413, for instance. Where's the opportunity for local companies, procurement? How is your government going to work to create jobs here so that we can create the talent pipelines and others? I mean, whether that be a multinational like an Alstom, setting up in a place like Brampton, or more likely, or ideally rather, a Brampton-based company being able to bid and get in part of these contracts, so we can reap the economic benefits that are coming along with these generational investments.
No, that's a great question, and one of the things that we've really been focusing in on now more than ever before is a focus of Ontario and Canadian content. And more so, as much as you possibly can, Ontario-based content within these projects. So it's a lens that we're looking at. I think, obviously, from when you do a project like the 413 or the LRT extension, there is almost a guaranteed use of almost local workforce, right? Like, I think a lot of the companies that build these projects have a lot of local workers. They attract a lot of that local workforce, so you get that benefit. But when we talk about the steel element, the aluminum element, the other components that sometimes go into these projects, the system rails, signaling systems that go into whether it's an LRT project, we absolutely want that and are requiring that as a part of our processes going forward, to be Ontario-based, Canadian-based to the extent possible. Sometimes there's things that you just can't do here, and sure, there's those circumstances where you have to go outside, but we 100% as a requirement want to see that happen. And I know we've got the team from Alstom here as well. What you saw that with the city of Toronto bid on the 55 new Line 2 cars. They were the only Canadian Ontario option. They're Thunder Bay jobs. And so, we stepped in and said, we'd like to see this sole sourced. And ultimately, it could cost a bit more, but ultimately, that money will stay in Ontario and it will support good Ontario jobs. And it's important for us to look at it in that angle now, given what's going on south of the border. So I think it means a lot more opportunities for businesses in Brampton, for businesses in Ontario, for businesses across Canada, and we're really, really excited about that.
I appreciate that, and that's really where I hope we see the opportunity for ongoing dialogue. I've appreciated that as part of the 413 rollout, your staff from the MTO has engaged with boards of trade and other professional organizations, industry associations, to understand where the opportunities for job creation come from. I just want to, in this room, really encourage you to continue in that path, because I do believe there's a lot of talent that we can unlock here that is currently underemployed, and to your point, this is a community that's been underinvested in traditionally. If we're going to make those investments, we really want to ensure we're making the most of them as well. And I know there's partners in the room, including Sheridan College, who be very, very keen to start talking about what type of programming we can be creating to make sure that those jobs are getting filled as well. On the topic of those larger infrastructure pieces, one of the big projects right now underway that's of national interest, or is at least on the government's official shortlist of potential national interest projects, is that of Alto, and the implementation of HSR from Toronto out to Quebec City. From your perspective, we're Ontario here. Where do you see that project expansion? Do you see a vision for that moving westward to Windsor? Are there other projects that are on your list of ideals that you'd like to see risen to being of national interest projects for the federal government as well?
Yeah, I'm a huge supporter of the Alto project. I've met with their team quite a bit and loved everything that they're trying to push forward on it. I think it's something that we definitely need. I'm happy to see that it's getting the attention right now under the new administration as well, because I think if we can move that quicker and faster, it will have a huge impact, once again, to the point about getting people employed across the province, probably will be one of the biggest projects ever undertaken from a transit perspective in all of Canada in our very near future. So if we can get that project up and going, we've lent our support to it to see the Premier has been supportive of it. I remember in our earlier conversation, we were really focused on the speed of it. We wanted to see it rather than frequency, more of it on speed to get people a real alternative from flying to using the train. And I think it will definitely be used by a lot of people. Many of us often commute to Ottawa, and sometimes instead of driving, we're flying quite a bit of the time. So to have that alternative will be incredible, and also opens up incredible opportunity for people that live in Toronto to work in Ottawa, for people that work in Ottawa to live in Toronto. So we're really excited about that. I think we'll continue to engage with them on conversations around expansion. We've always been, generally speaking, supportive of any level of government that wants to push more transit and build that capacity across the province. So we'd be more than happy to continue engaging upon that. And I know there's been conversations around the Toronto to Windsor gap around it as well. So that's something that's really important. But I think the key to that project is for them to speed up the design process and get a shovel in the ground. I know they've got the consortium that they're going with, but to get a shovel in the ground is really critical. And I know right now they were looking originally, given the timelines around some of the requirements that were imposed upon them, which hopefully can be shrunk a little bit, almost 4 to 5 years before they got a shovel in the ground. I think that's going to change, and I think it's a huge benefit if it does.
Amazing. And then other projects that are of high interest, we've got folks like 407, we've got folks like Scooty in the room, we've got Toronto Pearson, we've got lots of folks here in that intermodal conversation. What else would your government like to see looked at as a project of national interest because of its importance to Ontario and our economy?
So one of the biggest projects that we've seen and that we've advocated for on the short list is a 401 tunnel project that we think is really important. 401 is one of the biggest and busiest highways in all of North America. And so for us, we wanted to see that be put into that category and something that we're in the market for on the feasibility side as we speak today, and looking at bids that will come in to see how we move on the next steps of that. So that's a dialogue that will continue to happen. You look at Pearson. I know they've got some significant plans undergoing. So we've been supportive of that project and of its national significance. Obviously, one of the busiest airports in all of North America. So I think it's a tool that we should use from this and on as many projects as we can to move faster, move quicker. Because ultimately, I don't think we have a choice anymore. We see what's happening south of the border, the competitiveness and advantage that they have. President Trump is moving quick, fast, opening up doors for anybody that wants to build or move companies there. And if we don't act and move as quick as they are, we'll lose on significant opportunities. And so I think we're in Ontario, everyone's seized with that, and we're looking at ways to continue moving that forward.
And great to hear it. And again, speaking from the lens of being a business association, anything that can facilitate faster movement of goods, but more importantly, more convenient and faster movement of people. We know that there's a hiring crisis here in a place like Brampton, where for many, it's just difficult to recruit talent because it's just so hard to get around the city. And for many people who are coming from outside of Brampton, movement within the province is one of the challenges. So anything to address that is fantastic to hear, and would be something that the Board of Trade would want to continue to work with you to develop advocacy and priorities around. We've just got time maybe for one or two last questions. We've talked a lot about stuff that's sort of near term, maybe something a little bit further out. The BRT has been a project that we've talked about here in Brampton, and the need to develop more convenient and efficient movement along the Queen Street corridor heading east and west from our city. Again, just more regional connectivity for Brampton. We know that everyone from employers to academic institutions rely on individuals coming in and out of Brampton on a daily basis to make that happen. Where do we see the BRT? That was, I think, a higher priority conversation at one point in time. A lot more stuff has come up in the meantime. When do we get to bring that conversation back?
No, absolutely. I think it's already started to come back a bit now. I was joking with the Mayor Brown at one point. I said, I feel like the BRT's almost been forgotten about with all the talk about the LRTs and the highways and whatnot. But it's a project that's still a priority for us and something that we want to see get built. And we're still in the preliminary phases of designing that. But I've seen, I've had conversations with a lot of the councillors at the city of Brampton and as well as the mayor who have really kind of pushed Queen Street as a high density corridor and a transit corridor. So we know it makes sense. We're definitely going to do it. We're going to continue working on it, and something that we'll continue to build upon and look forward to maybe sharing more of an update on that in the near future as well. But something definitely that makes a lot of sense. I was talking to Mayor Del Duca as well about the success of their BRT program in Vaughan and how we can eventually at one point connect the two cities together. They're looking at ways to improve that as well. So we're really excited about that project. Obviously, we've got a lot on the go here in the city of Brampton and across the province. So sometimes, what we got to continue to do. And what's great about events like this is, we bring it back up and we make sure that we continue to work on it. And our team at Metrolinx will continue to do so.
Appreciate that. And then just as a final thought, we invited you here in your capacity as the Minister of Transportation. My last question is in the context of the MPP representing Brampton South. And that is, what more can we be doing in this community to advocate? You started off by saying, there has been an underinvestment historically. The growth that's happening in this community. How acutely we need these investments in infrastructure. In a room full of people who love to raise their voices on behalf of this community, what would you tell us as a final statement on how we can work with your government more effectively to raise Brampton and maintain Brampton as a priority community?
Yeah, look, I think we've got a lot to be excited for. We've got a lot going on. We were all at the opening of, many of us were at the opening of the new medical school in Brampton. So it showed kind of how one idea that, how something that was just an idea became a reality and really put Brampton in a very strategic position moving forward on, being the center of kind of, healthcare potential innovation and research moving forward as we can build that facility out. But I think, it's truly been really fun as an MPP to see, the growth that's happening in the city, but then to also be able to look at projects that will continue not only to make up for the lack of investment in the past, but also build upon what we truly need and deserve in the city. I tell my colleagues sometimes, everyone laughs at the amount of, you get a new hospital, you're getting a highway, you're getting transit, you're getting a new med school. Like Brampton's getting too much. Sometimes people joke with us, and I say it's for far too long we were ignored, and we're just catching up. And there's a lot more investment that needs to happen in this city. And so, as elected officials, not only myself but my colleagues, Minister McGregor, Minister Williams, MPP Greywall, and Sandu Lake, we're focused on bringing as much investment into the city as possible, and continue engaging with partners like all of you to see what those gaps are and where that best use of dollars can go. And so for us, a lot of the times it helps us, figure out, okay, what should we be as local MPPs advocating for the city? Obviously, we have limited resources. There's not hundreds of billions of dollars to just print off and put onto every project, and there's not that much market capacity to build every single project. So as we focus on those projects for us, it's important to engage with communities. So for all of you to continue, engaging with us, letting us know what the priorities are, where the gaps are, and where we need to fill a bit quicker. That's what's really guided us and been really helpful for us. So, hopefully we can continue to engage in those conversations and build upon that in the future.
Amazing. Thank you, Minister Sarkaria. We appreciate your time, appreciate your candor, and looking forward to continue to work with you both as a minister, but also as our local MPP as we advance the priorities of Brampton together. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.